I'm buying the Lime IPO. And honestly, I didn't expect to say that. Because if you watched this channel before, you'll know I'm naturally skeptical of IPOs. Most IPOs come out with loads of hype, big promises, and then 6 months later, everyone's wondering what happened. So, why am I suddenly excited about Lime? Well, I started reading through the numbers. Then I looked at who actually owns the company. Then I looked at what that shareholder is doing. And that's when I thought, hold on, this is actually really interesting. Now, before we go any further, I could be completely wrong. This is not financial advice. This is me simply sharing why I'm personally buying this Lime IPO. And if you think I'm wrong, tell me in the comments, because that's how I learn. The first thing that caught my attention wasn't even the revenue. It wasn't the growth. It wasn't the cash flow. It was Uber. Uber already owns roughly a quarter of Lime. Think about that for a second. They already have a massive stake in the company. Now, here's the part that made me stop. They're planning to buy even more shares in IPO. Now ask yourself, if you already own around 24% of a company, why would you buy more? You don't have to. Nobody's forcing you. So why do you do it? Now, obviously, I can't read Uber's mind. Maybe they simply like the long-term opportunity. Maybe they believe Lime is becoming strategically more valuable. Maybe they see something I don't. But when one of the biggest mobility companies in the world voluntarily decides to increase its investment, I pay attention. Not because Uber's always right, but because that's a signal worth investigating. At first, I expected another IPO with flat numbers and lots of marketing. Instead, I kept seeing improvement. Revenue has been growing year after year. Cash flow has improved dramatically. Free cash flow has gone from barely positive to much stronger. Even the overall business has continued getting larger. Now, they're still not consistently profitable. I am not pretending otherwise. But personally, I care about direction. Is the business getting stronger or weaker? Now, from what I've seen, the trend has been moving in the right direction. One thing I've realized about investing, I don't need perfection. Very few companies are perfect. What I want is improvement. Imagine two students. One gets 95% every year. The other goes from 40 to 60 to 75 to 90. Which one has more momentum? Sometimes improvement tells you more than perfection. And that's how I currently see Lime. Now, think about cities. More people means more traffic, more congestion, more people looking for short journeys. Sometimes walking is too far. Driving makes no sense. Public transport isn't ideal. That's exactly where Lime fits. Now again, I'm not saying they're guaranteed to dominate. I'm simply saying I understand the problem they are trying to solve. And I think that problem isn't disappearing anytime soon. Now, this wouldn't be a proper video if I ignored the negatives. Lime still isn't consistently profitable. The company has significant debt and other financial obligations. The IPO itself helps strengthen its financial position. Competition is real. Regulations can change. Cities can introduce new rules. And plenty of IPOs disappoint investors. Every single one of those things matters. So I'm definitely not saying this investment is risk-free. It isn't. Because investing, to me, isn't about finding companies with zero risk. Those don't exist. It's about finding situations where I personally believe the reward outweighs the risk. Now, when I combine growing revenue with employing cash flow, a business that's becoming financially stronger, a huge global market, and Uber increasing an already large ownership position, I become very interested. Can I lose money? Absolutely. Could this IPO perform terribly? Yes, that's investing. Nothing is guaranteed. But based on everything I've just read, everything I've researched, and everything I've understood so far, I'm personally comfortable buying it. Maybe this ends up being one of my best investments. Or maybe it's one of my worst. I genuinely don't know. And that's something I never want to hide on this channel. This isn't me pretending to be some investing genius. It's me documenting my real decisions, my real thinking, and hopefully learning along the way. So yes, I'm buying the Lime IPO. Not because somebody on social media told me to, not because everyone else is excited, but because after doing my own research, this is a company I personally believe in. Now, I want to hear from you. Are you buying the Lime IPO, or are you staying well away from it? Let me know in the comments. I'd genuinely love to hear the other side.